Hey everybody, it's Candy, aka Brown Eyed Girl 69. How y'all doing? Well, today is June the 8th, 1 a.m. in the morning. So it's 1 hour into June 8th, basically. Sitting here just, watching some videos, scrolling through Facebook. I've posted a few things over there in some groups that's getting some interaction with some folks. And then I just started thinking about things. And basically, why I don't trust humans. Why I'm introverted. Why I prefer to be alone. The last real relationship I had ended in January of 2018. I had a choice. I could have stayed out there in the woods, living in a tent. I could have, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it on my own. And I'd lost my partner and best friend of 13 years, When he left this earth, he took a part of me with him. And yes, I was given the opportunity to come back into society. I had a friend that I'd actually met through Facebook. Um, we were friends before I went homeless. Or I think, yeah, we were friends on Facebook before I went homeless. She lived in Virginia. And then me and Daryl was going through what we was going through. I didn't even realize that she had moved from Virginia to Oregon. In fall of 2015, um, well, when she realized that me and Daryl was in Oregon, Southern Oregon, and we were only about 4 hours south of her and her boyfriend at that point in time drove down from Portland and brought us some items that we needed. And then, when was the next time they came down? The next time Heather came down was in 28, no, it was 2017. And maybe one other time she'd come down. I think there was 3 times they came down total. Uh, Twice with her boyfriend, and then once when she picked me and Daryl up. When we were in the process of leaving to try to come back to Oklahoma for our daughter's graduation. So I knew her, I talked to her a lot, and Met her in person, a few times. So when Daryl passed away, she said, I don't know what any of your plans are, but I figured I would just let you know that if you needed an option of getting indoors and trying to get back on your feet, I can help you with that. I don't have a 2-bedroom apartment, but I do have a couch, and you'd have a place to stay, and you could get a job and try to get back up on your feet, if that is what you want. My only other option was to come back here with no opportunities in sight, no vehicle, nobody willing to house me. Um, so I took Heather's option and moved to Portland. And that was it. Now, in between me losing Daryl and moving to Portland, there was approximately, how many days was there? There was about 8 to 9 days in there. Daryl passed away on the 9th, and I was up in Portland on January 17th. And I was starting my first job on February 1st. That's how it went down. Now, from the time that he passed on the 9th, I then let my community basically know on the 10th. And by that afternoon, I wasn't outdoors anymore. I was staying with someone that lived there on the Jackson Well Springs property in her little mobile home. And she let me come stay with her for about 3 days. Her name was Patty. She was a very, very, very nice woman. In that 3-day period of time that I stayed with her, there was another woman that I had met when me and Daryl came back in the fall of 2017. And I'm still friends with her to this day as well. Her name's Grace. And she's the one that got a group of people together that got some more people together that basically gave me approximately $400 and got me a room for about 3 days. I think I stayed in the room. Let's see, I got in the room. Let's see, he died on the 10th or 9th. The 10th, the 11th, and the 12th is when I stayed with Patty. On the 12th, was it the 13th? The 12th, I think it was, is when I went to the hotel. So I was at the hotel the 12th, the 13th, the 14th. And I paid for 2 more days. That's what it was. The 15th and 16th. And then on the 17th is when I left and took that bus up to Portland. So I had this nice little hotel. It looked like a little cabin. It was pretty small. It was very small actually, but it had a really nice big bed in there. It had a nice big TV on the wall. It had a pretty decent sized walk-in shower. The bathroom was the nicest part of it all. I think that's the only reason why I really didn't care about the other smallness, was because the bathroom was really important to me. Because when you're homeless and you don't have a bathroom at your beck and call, um, and then you do get a chance to get indoors and have actual facilities, oh yeah, it's just a total blessing, you know? Because most people don't realize, you know, what it's like to not have facilities. I would say, I don't know what the percentage of it is, but majority, and just here in America, I'd say, the majority of Americans don't even have a clue. um, what living that type of life is even like. And not that I would ever want to wish that on anyone. But I do remember back in the day when Daryl and I was up on that mountain, up behind the Jackson Well Springs. We stayed there for about 6 months. There was a couple other camping sites that was just like really close to our area. And people always I used to panhandle on my Facebook page, basically, before we got to Oregon and started actually panhandling in real life. Um, so once I got to Oregon and everything started kind of falling into place for Daryl and I, most people still had something negative to say about it. So I always invited people, hey, you know, bring you a tent, get you a sleeping bag, come out here, spend a weekend with us. Don't bring any, you know, yeah, bring a phone. If you got data or whatever, you stay connected, even on the mountain. But no laptops, no coffee pots, no microwaves, no stoves, no showers, no bathroom. Yeah, we had a latrine. Daryl actually built it. Um, we was living up from the fall of 2015 until the spring of 2016. We was living up and behind the Jackson Well Springs, up above the railroad tracks. We had a very, very, very nice view. And we had a very decent sized patch of land to ourselves. And we had this really nice big tent, and then we had a smaller tent, and we had plenty of tarps and uh, the things that we needed. Up there, somebody had already cut down some logs, and or there was these poles up there. They were carved out of actual wood, tree, you know. So Daryl utilized these poles and a tarp, dug some. One of our friends had a shovel, so we borrowed the shovel. Daryl dug some holes in the ground with poles, stuck the poles in there, attached a tarp to it. He did kind of like a lean-to type with it, and it was right next to a tree too, so it was just genius. I have actual photos of it. Even had, I think, a sidewall. And then the back was trees. Maybe they had little walls too. I can't remember. I'll have to look at the pictures again. But basically, right underneath that um, tarp, right in the middle, was a pretty decent sized hole. And on the side of the hole was a big pile of dirt. Well, that hole was our bathroom. And as we went, we covered it up. We had a trash can with trash bags for our toilet paper and whatnot. But yeah, we were pretty set up there. We had a storage supply tent. We had our actual living tent. We had a fire pit. Um, it was amazing. But yeah, I always was inviting people. Hey, you want to experience what it's like to be homeless? And you can come and hang out with us for a while, and we'll definitely show you what it's like to be homeless. We'll show you exactly what we do and where we go and how we live and how we survive. But nobody ever took us up on the challenge. Kelsey, she actually wanted to come out and hang with us for about a week in the summer of 2016, but my mother didn't allow it. Um, I was pretty disappointed actually. Uh, that I didn't get to have that bond moment with my daughter, and give her a life experience that would have probably changed her perspective on life in general, and she might have went down a completely different path than she went down. So it is what it is. I also noticed I started out talking about trust and brokenness and my homeless journey. So I guess I'm not going to really talk about the trust issue now. But what I am going to say is I noticed that my videos, when I talk about the homelessness and my stories, they seem to get a lot more views than when I'm just talking about my daily humdrum life. My DoorDash, sometimes it takes off, sometimes it don't. But I have gained a couple more subs, so I want to say thanks to all you people that are new here. Thanks for hanging in and listening to my stories about my life. Whether those stories are from my past or are current. But yeah, it seems like people like to hear about homeless stories and stuff like that. I've got plenty of homeless stories. In fact, what I might do, and if you've made it this far, what I want you to do is leave a comment down below. I'll leave a list of all the major cities that Daryl and I was in and how long we were there, and in the description of this video. And if you made it that far, you can comment one of the cities that I list, and I'll give you a story from that specific city that Daryl and I was in at that given point in time. So that's the project that I have for you guys, is to make it to this point of the video and leave a comment down below which city you'd like to hear a story about. Peace, love, hugs, and nugs. I'll be looking forward to the comments, and then that way I can get on to sharing more stories. Until then, I'm out.